So I kind of wanted to talk today about this place of being an overwhelm. And I think that I can't speak for all men. I can't speak for my entire gender. But I will say that I think men, or say myself more importantly, I think our identities at times can be tied to our careers. And when that is in jeopardy, or when that shifts or changes, we there are times where I've attached who I am, my self-worth, to external forces. And I'll notice that I will go through ebbs and flows depending on feeling good about myself based on how well I'm doing in my career. And I feel like there are times where I'll be down on myself when I don't feel as great about my personal career, which I know sounds like nonsense, but it's something that I've experienced recently in the past year, but it's also something I've experienced when I've gone through transitions in my career before as well. So I just wanted to kind of talk a little bit about what's worked well for me in terms of coping with or dealing with being in a place where I'm stressed out of my mind, or I'm overwhelmed, or I'm in a place where that voice in the back of my head's racing a million miles a minute, and it just won't shut up. It won't stop criticizing or just being hard on my own self. And so it's funny, I tried a lot of different things, and kind of where I wanted to start today was talking about the things that didn't work well for me. So, by the way, this is not I know what I'm doing right now. This is just like I tested, I tried, and it did not work well for me. So the first one was doing like a 5 a.m. morning routine. So like waking up at 5, getting out of the house, going straight to the gym or going for a run, spending time planning out my day. I understand the premise of it. I get the idea of it. But honestly, I was just so freaking grumpy, and I felt like the workouts I got, at least for my own body at 5 o'clock in the morning, were horrible. And I have the same reaction. I had a friend of mine that had his theory on this, but his whole thought was, look, if you want to do 5 a.m. morning routines, that's great. There's going to be a time in your life where your body naturally wants to wake up at that time, and that's when 5 a.m. routines really work well. If you're forcing it right now and your body's not really in that place, it may or may not be the best thing. The idea is right, but the execution for you personally may not be right. So anyways, that one I failed horribly. I was grumpy, I was angry, I didn't get enough sleep, and I was just a mess. So that one didn't work well for me. Cutting out certain foods. This was a funny one. So cutting out certain foods did not work well for me. I personally, my personal feeling, I'm not going to talk anything nutrition. Everyone's body's their own. But I personally believe, and this is my own bias with no scientific background, that my body does much better on white rice. That's just my own personal take. I believe I was born to eat white rice. Anyways. Cutting out coffee, that was a bad idea. Gratitude journal was a funny one. Gratitude journal was one of those where I absolutely 100% believe in gratitude, but taking the time to write down gratitude, I literally just got more frustrated trying to come up with more things I was grateful for, and I didn't feel it made a big difference in my life. And I know that's a little bit counterintuitive, but as much as I've sat down and tried to do gratitude journals, it doesn't do it for me. So those were the kind of the major four that I thought, like morning routines, like cutting out certain foods, like those failed horribly for me. But what did work for me, and I'd love to hear yours. Like I'd love to hear what worked for you guys, or if you've ever been just in a place of overwhelm and stress, like what works for you? Because I'm still searching right now. So my list of things that did work for me, I love Einstein's quote. Like this is kind of the whole idea behind this. It was like hearing Einstein's quote, and I'm going to get this wrong, but I'm going to look at my notes. So no problem can be solved from the same level of consciousness that created it, which I absolutely love. By the way, if you learn anything about me, it's the fact that I cannot quote worth crap. I am horrible at quoting anything. I will misquote everything. So if I don't write it down, I'm not going to get it right. But the things that really moved the needle for me was number one, gym. And that's not to say that you should go to the gym. That just means any type of physical exercise that gets you up, that gets your endorphins going. That could be dance, it could be walking, it could be running, it could be building something, it could be gardening, it could be whatever. Like I think movement, and for me it was going to the gym and having a goal of what I want it to do in terms of my fitness or energy or mobility or strength or whatever it was. Like gym was double time for me because I'm the person that doesn't like working out with people. I go to the gym, my headset's in, I don't listen to music. It's double time, like I said. So it's gym and it's podcasting. So I get to double dose, and that goes back to the kind of the Einstein quote where I get to double dose on new thoughts, new ideas from different entrepreneurs, thought leaders, influencers, business people, whoever you want to talk about, right? Or learn something new. Or worst case scenario, like if I'm just over listening, I get audiobooks and I get a chance to zone out for a second here. So I think gym with audio was the biggest needle mover for me in terms of just being in overwhelm and getting out of those spaces quickly because my mind didn't keep churning. So that was number one. Number two is definitely meditation. And I know it sounds a little bit cliche, and this one took me a long time to adapt and find what worked well for me. I'm not a person that does well with just hey, start meditating. I probably started and stopped Calm and Headspace 3 times before I really got it using those apps. What really made the biggest difference for me is listening to a podcast by Tim Ferriss with Jack Kornfield, I believe it was, runs a meditation center up here in Marin. And just him describing what to do while you're meditating. Like, what do you do when you have those negative thoughts, and being able to name those thoughts in your head, whatever it might be, right? Self-doubt, and just being able to name them and naming them in your head softly and to the point where eventually you realize that they dissipate. And then when the next thought comes in, you name it and it dissipates. And eventually you can just clear your head out. But that took me a long time to figure out. But meditating for me before bed, 20 minutes, if I can get more, that's great. But 20 minutes makes a huge difference. It calms my mind. It puts me in a place where I can actually sleep. Or in the morning, if my mind's already racing, that's another time that I'll do it. So meditation and workout, and these are not groundbreaking, but working out and podcasting were the biggest ones. I'd also say that thinking about where I wanted to be, and this will be a completely different piece that I'll do later on, thinking about where I wanted to be, 15 years from now, what the feeling was, what I wanted to be doing, how I wanted to, not necessarily attaching dollar amounts and signs to it and any of that type of stuff. Just what's the feeling you want to have? What's the impact you want to have? What are the conversations you want to be having? And then finally, being around good people. Cutting out negative people, that never gets old. And I can't say enough about the friends that I've leaned on, the people that I've leaned into. Some of you guys that are watching here, you guys know, it really does take a village to lift someone back up. So anyways, those were kind of my trials and tribulations. I'd love to hear what's worked for you. Hopefully there's some value in there or something that you can adopt. If there's something you're curious about, I'd love to have a discussion with what's worked well for you, or if there's something you want to take from this and kind of adopt into your life, I'd love to talk to you about how to make it work in your life, because I've had a couple friends go through this exact same process, and some of these that I just mentioned have made huge differences for them. So anyways, hope that helped. Hope you guys got some value. And please, if these are helping, or if you even watch 1 minute, please just comment in the section down below and just say, hey, this is what's worked well for me. This is how I've got through Overwhelm. I'd love to hear from you. So your comments, your likes, all that stuff makes the world of difference. If you feel like this video is going to help someone, please share it as I'm beginning this process. So I appreciate all the love. I appreciate all the kind of comments, interaction, and we'll be back here every single day. My name is Jason Liu. Cheers.